1695. Off the coast of India, a single pirate ship was about to pull off the richest heist in the history of piracy, against a target 10 times its size, owned by an emperor who ruled over 100 million people. Its captain would walk away with a fortune worth hundreds of millions of dollars today, and he would never be caught. The story starts a year earlier in a Spanish harbor. Henry Every, an English sailor, led his crewmates in a mutiny after their wages went unpaid for months, and a promised naval commission from Spain never arrived. They seized the ship, renamed her the Fancy, and elected Every as their new captain, the beginning of one of the most successful pirate careers in history. By the following summer, Every had sailed the Fancy, now a heavily armed 46-gun frigate, to a narrow strait at the mouth of the Red Sea, a choke point where ships returning from Mecca had to pass. There, he joined forces with 5 other pirate captains, forming a small fleet of roughly 440 men, and was elected admiral of them all. Their target, a 25-ship Mughal convoy returning from the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca. Its crown jewel was the Ganji Sawai, meaning exceeding treasure, an 80-cannon giant owned by Emperor Aurangzeb himself, carrying more than 1,000 pilgrims, sailors and guards, escorted by an even larger warship carrying hundreds more. The main convoy slipped past the pirates in the dead of night, undetected. Every gave chase anyway, refusing to let the richest prize in the ocean simply sail away. 4 or 5 days into the chase, they caught the convoy's escort ship first and plundered it with barely a fight, walking away with 50 or 60,000 pounds before the real battle had even begun. Then came the Ganji Sawai herself, 80 cannons, over 1,000 people aboard, dwarfing every ship in every way. On paper, the pirates never stood a chance. A single lucky cannon shot from the Fancy tore through the Ganji Sawai's mainmast, crippling her ability to maneuver. Moments later, one of the Mughal ship's own massive cannons exploded on deck, killing its own gun crew and throwing the defenders into total chaos. Every's crew swarmed aboard. A brutal close-quarters battle raged for nearly 3 hours before the Ganji Sawai's defenders finally surrendered. What followed over the next several days was one of the darkest chapters in the history of piracy. The pirates subjected the ship's passengers to days of brutal violence and abuse while ransacking every corner of the vessel for treasure. Among them was a noblewoman said to be related to Aurangzeb himself, and some victims chose to take their own lives rather than submit, brutality that shocked even other pirates of the era. When the pirates finally finished counting their haul, it came to as much as £600,000 in gold, silver and jewels, including roughly 500,000 individual coins, arguably the richest single prize ever taken by pirates. Weeks later, on a remote island, the pirates divided the spoils. Each ordinary sailor walked away with roughly £1,000 in cash alone, plus gems, worth somewhere around £90,000 to £130,000 in today's money, more wealth than most of them would earn in an entire lifetime at sea. It didn't stay friendly for long. A dispute over the coins turned Every's own crew against one of their allies, who ended up with nothing at all. News of the attack reached Emperor Aurangzeb, and he was furious, treating the raid as an act of sacrilege against pilgrims returning from Mecca. He shut down English trading posts across India, imprisoned company officials, and came within a hair's breadth of expelling the English from the country entirely. English trade there, once worth £800,000 a year, collapsed to almost nothing. Back in England, the government scrambled to control the damage. Parliament branded Every and his men enemies of all mankind. The Crown put a £500 bounty on his head, and the East India Company doubled it to 1,000. With a full pardon offered to any pirate who turned in his crewmates. Historians call it the first truly global manhunt. The first break came within weeks. A chambermaid at an inn in Kent found over 1,000 gold coins sewn into the waistcoat of a guest named John Dan, Every's own coxswain. She reported it to the town's mayor, and Dan was arrested on the spot. More arrests followed fast. Jewelers and goldsmiths across England grew suspicious of sailors trying to sell strange foreign coins and reported them. Within weeks, 24 of Every's men had been rounded up. Facing execution himself, Dan struck a deal. He would testify against his own former crewmates in exchange for his life. At their first trial, in a stunning twist, the jury actually acquitted them of piracy. Furious, the court rushed through a second trial less than 2 weeks later on a different technicality, and this time, under pressure from the judge to protect the trade, wealth and glory of the nation, the same jury convicted them all. On November 25, 1696, 5 of Every's men were hanged at Execution Dock in London. John Dan, the man who turned on them, walked free, and later became a respected goldsmith banker, living out his days on the very same kind of gold he'd once stolen. Henry Every himself sailed for Ireland with a small crew in the summer of 1696, after briefly hiding out in the Bahamas by bribing the colonial governor. A couple of his men were caught trying to spend their treasure there. Every himself was never seen again. To this day, no one knows what happened to Henry Every, or to the vast majority of his treasure. Wild rumors flew for years afterward that he'd crowned himself king of a pirate haven in Madagascar, and cheap pamphlets turned him into a folk legend within his own lifetime. In reality, he simply vanished, humiliating an emperor, nearly wrecking an empire's trade, and getting away completely clean. One of the only pirates in history who may have actually pulled it off. Follow for more of history's greatest unsolved heists.